Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Veg Networking Canada. We are a community where vegan, plant-based companies connect and collaborate. It is important to honor, acknowledge, and respect that many of us are located across Canada in many different areas of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. Today, we have a special guest with us who is a health and food industry professional for over a decade. He is a passionate champion for everything related to sustainability and a self-professed tree hugger at heart, avid cyclist, and total metalhead. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the CEO of Bumble and Beagle Bagel. Welcome, Frédéric Boucher.
Thank you very much, Justin. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here with all of us who are here with us live. And as you can imagine, Veg Networking Canada is a group for entrepreneurs and business owners, some in the food space, some in the personal services space, a lot of different categories. So some of our members are with us live today, and some are going to be listening to this later and afterwards. So speaking to a good group of folks, and we're ready to get started with you with the first question, which is, can you share more about your vegan start, your plant-based origin story, and how that unfolded?
Absolutely. There's kind of two parts of my vegan history. The first one is when I was 17. So I actually am from Quebec City originally. At that time at 17, I started to get into a little bit more of I'm a musician, say a metalhead. So punk rock, metal, hardcore. I was really into that. And then at 17, 18, I started to listen to a lot of bands from the New York hardcore scene, bands like Youth of Today, Gorilla Biscuits. And actually, these bands had a philosophy about straight edge, which was basically no drug, no alcohol. And a lot of their lyrics were as well towards against animal cruelty. And at 17, 18, I was kind of like very curious about that. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I had my burgers, whatever. And I'm like, well, that it makes sense. So actually, went vegan, I was 17, and I'm 46 now. So that's definitely because of the music and that scene, that hardcore metal scene. And then the thing is, it was super hard to be vegan back in the day, right? It was like hummus and bread and pastas with tomato sauce, which was super hard. I was at home, I was young, a little dumb, and my mom didn't know better. So after like a year and a half, I just stopped. But I was never big into like meat and anything like big steak on the barbecue kind of thing. So then fast forward about 2014, 15. So I started to work. I had a part of my career in marketing, but in construction, nothing to do with food. But I was really inclined about really interested in the food and health type stuff. I'm a cyclist. I've always done sports. I was a college basketball player in Quebec. So it was always like health very important to me. So basically, what I saw, which is a link from where I was young to there. There was the singer of a band called Cro-Mags. He, he wrote a book called "Meat is for Pussies." It's actually John Joseph. I don't know if you guys heard of that, but it's amazing. It really talks to me. It talks to the meatheads, right? The guys like the Buff Jim, the dudes of dudes, right? And I was kind of a little bit like that. So I'm like, well, he was talking about like how animal cruelty is not for the guys are too emotional or whatnot. It's like really it just makes sense for the environment, for health, for all the good reasons, for cruelty. So that kind of really rang that something into me. And then more or less at the same time, I saw the Cowspiracy movie, which came out more or less at the same time. So actually, at that point, I kind of went back to veganism, and I said this is going to be probably my lifestyle for the end of my, you know, days. And I wanted to work in that field at the same time. So I got a job as a marketing director in the supplements company, and then from there, I'm here.
Well, for those who don't know, John Joseph, very unapologetic, yeah. Anyway, very, very great. We'll touch a little bit more on one of the resources that you mentioned there, one of the documentaries, a little bit later on in the conversation. But in terms of your entrepreneurial start and the origin story behind that, and the evolution behind that, did that begin more sort of as an entrepreneur in this marketing gig that you were talking about, or how did you become an entrepreneur? It's so different for everybody.
Yeah. Well, actually, it started more or less at the same time that I was vegan when I was 17, 18, because I actually had a contact from, I was playing in bands, in metal, punk rock bands. And there was actually a guy in Toronto that I had a contact with who sent me letters. No, but email. I'm old, and no, it was like not social media stuff, right? It was really really hard to communicate with just on the phone. And he was a booker for metal bands were there, and some bands wanted to go uh, more towards the east. Like Quebec City is the bigger city, you know, past Montreal when you go east, and he wanted to have a contact there to book the shows. And he had my contact because of another band, whatever that we played with. And he said, that guy might help you out as a booker. So I became like, I had my production company for 3 years. It was called, I've got something with the B's, like Boucher, probably my last name. And my production company was called Big Bro Production. So Big Bro, Bumble Bloom, Beagle Bagel, there's something there, right? So that there's definitely a B kind of thing going on for me. So that's where I like had contracts with bands from New York, California, from Boston, and I kind of got into the entrepreneurial kind of thing, and it was fun, but it was hard, obviously. And it started there. I always had the flame inside of me, so I had a more or less a 15-year span of corporate jobs in between that, and starting with Bumble Bloom and Beagle Bagel, which I love. But I mean, I think I love that stuff, right? So that's it.
So yeah, so cool story. So it was that flame or that spark, like you talked about, was early on, and almost kind
Really.
of by accident, which is
Yeah,
kind of funny for
absolutely.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of Bumble Bloom and Beagle Bagel, feel free to tell everybody listening a little bit more about those businesses.
Yeah.
And the ultimate question here is, where are those businesses going in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bumble Bloom is actually a company I bought from Vancouver, and I redid the branding, I redid the recipes, R&D and whatnot, and I actually started it here in the East, and we did retail, but I'm gonna do a really fast forward thing on this, and because we started back the company when it was pandemic, it was super hard to scale and to make people try and understand the product because everybody was like crazy stressed out and whatnot. So I was in like 300 retailers like IGAs, Metros, a bunch of them. And I noticed that the velocity wasn't there, so I'm like, this is a product that's more like an ingredient, I think, that would be better for food manufacturers and chefs and restaurants. So I actually had a few contacts, chef restaurants, and like there's one restaurant who bought like more than 100 IGAs. So I'm like, wow, there's definitely like the ingredient part of it is better for Bumble Bloom. So what I wanted to create is actually like the Bumble Bloom, the name itself. I wanted to become like a trademark, like a Beyond Meat burger at A&W. When you go to A&W, you don't take a pea protein burger with a methyl cellulose. You take a Beyond burger. So I want Bumble Bloom to be like that. So I worked with the different chefs and manufacturers, so they co-brand it. So they always say sweetened with Bumble Bloom or Bumble Bloom vegan honey. So I want it to be a generic name, right? So what is that? It's vegan honey. It's like Beyond. It's like meat, like veggie meat, whatever. So I kind of feel that there's good traction with that strategy. So that's it for Bumble Bloom, and then I'm going to continue scale in bigger formats for food manufacturers, bars, granola, whatnot, restaurants, chains. We're already about 50 restaurants using it right now across Canada, and looking at a few different manufacturers to use as an ingredient to replace honey or just to sweeten whatever they have. And there's a company that's going to launch a teriyaki sauce with the base is Bumble Bloom inside of it. It's pretty cool. So this is with Bumble, and then we just launched a new venture. It's called Beagle Bagel. It's a Montreal style bagel that's vegan, and we actually use our vegan honey to make the bagels. So because the Montreal bagel has honey in them, so I wanted to create a vegan bagel with Bumble. So it's actually we use that product to create the bagels, which are Montreal style bagels, really known and loved. And we actually did 2 pop-ups in the last 4 months, and they've been crazy like successful. And we sold like big bagel sandwiches, vegan sandwiches, with local, food manufacturer that I know, people I love, that I wanna, because it's just not about like my business. I want the veganism and plant-based movement to grow. So we need people to help each other, right? And now we're going to launch in distribution the bagels in 3 weeks, just after the holidays, and do more pop-ups, and we'll see from there.
Yum. Is the distribution for the bagels going to be remaining local, or how does that look?
Yeah, what we're going to do is basically I want to create that kind of FOMO and get it as fresh as possible. So actually, we're going to produce it like every Friday, and it's going to be like first come first serve. So we got a limited quantity. It's fresh. It's made in house, and then you come and pick up only. It's going to be on the plateau, and we're actually making the bagel in the pizzeria.
Very cool. Yeah.
In the vegan pizzeria, the only vegan pizzeria in Montreal, in Quebec, in fact, in the whole province.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, in terms of transformations or trends,
Yeah,
you're already in that in and of itself, right? Like you're transforming or creating a new trend in it being vegan honey and traditional
a new category, I think, even.
yeah, exactly. So, maybe expand a little further upon that. Or maybe there are other transformations or trends in the industry or the broader category that you've noticed. But that's the question about transformations or trends.
Yeah, I think that's a question that I could answer in like 2 hours, because there's so many sub trends and different views on that, and like the super like hardcore vegan with healthy, plant based with legumes, and the really traditional stuff, and then they're full on, tech bros with biotechs and like precise fermentation and all sorts of weird technology. So there's a lot of stuff, but for us, we're really low tech. If you see it, if you look at it, because a bagel is, I mean, it's traditional bagel. It's just we tweaked it a little bit to make it vegan and to make it fun and accessible. And how to explain it is very important for a consumer. How do you explain the steak that it's lab grown? For the average consumer, he's like, "You're crazy, man. I'm never gonna eat that." So that's very hard to have the adoption of the mass consumer. I'm all for like anything that helps like not killing animals or like using them for whatever food we need. I'm down with that, but we're very far from a mass adoption of these technologies, and people, they need to know how it's done, more or less. That's why people love when you see these shows like how it's done, or how do you make a pizza, how do you make this or that. People love to see it because they need to understand. And a lab grown meat, steak, people are scared of that. You know what I mean? Uh, so, but and that's a big trend. But I think is like, is that a bubble? Maybe a second plant-based bubble. Maybe there's a lot of money forked in it. If it makes other people jump in the bandwagon and say, hummus is vegan and it's been around forever. you know. So I'm kind of, I don't really know if it's going to work or not, but I think it has to be accessible for a lot of people. We need to focus on more understandable technologies like beans and legumes, and that's why we do a low tech product. Vegan honey. It's apple juice. It's organic. It's made with apple juice, cane sugar, and apple cider vinegar. That's organic. Same texture, same pH, same kind of flavor as apple honey, like a real apple honey. But I can explain to them, like, see the ingredients. It's simple. And the bagels is the same thing. The bagel is just we put this honey in this, but it's a traditional Montreal bagel. It's not like a Star Trek kind of bagel it's grown in a lab. So there's these two trends, but yeah, I think the more we need like the fast food places like the Tim Hortons and McDonald's to have at least one option and one good option. At least the restaurant, for me, food service is one of the places that would really help a lot, because you can taste right away with non-vegans or vegans say, can I try your, impossible meatballs or whatever. I think food service is one of the places that will help a lot for the plant-based, movement.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, in terms of charity, that term itself comes with a lot of maybe baggage or thoughts or what have you. So you can also frame it as like giving back, and there's different give back strategies and whatnot. So feel free to answer that from Freddie's perspective, Bumble
Yep.
Bloom's perspective, Beagle Bagel's perspective. But yeah, what does charity or giving back mean to you or your companies?
The thing is, we're struggling. Every company at one point is struggling with money, cash flow. I mean, we have to be transparent. It's very hard to give away money, even for charitable, organizations or whatnot. So we try to do our best with what already we offer to the market at a fair price, not to be like greedy or whatnot. So we try as much as possible to support any causes that we feel that make sense for us. So we sponsored a lot of the different events that are, eco-friendly, and conferences and whatnot, giving free samples and being there for free. And we actually gave to food banks, local food banks, some stuff which we feel is important, because waste is one of the biggest problem in the food industry is still. So we give for food banks, and we actually have one animal sanctuary that we kind of like very much, that we gave some products and was supported, and we like mentioned a lot of times, and yeah, and, and we do what we can with what we have, right? So we're self-funded. We don't have any VCs. We don't have like outside money, and that. So that's the thing, right? We try to do as much as possible. So yeah, so it works out.
Yeah, and we love the transparency. That's what it's all about. And there's not, in all of the conversation starters or questions that we discuss, there's never really any right or wrong answers, especially for the giving back question. There's never any right or wrong answers. Um, can we ask what that sanctuary is?
Yeah, it's called Safe, SAFE, Safe. That's one of the biggest sanctuaries. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hour outside Montreal, on this near the border, more or less. Catherine is super nice. She works super hard, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough for everyone. It's just the thing is, it's like we're super small. We need bigger companies to give to these guys. You know what I mean? I wish we would make like $50 million and give away like 20 grand per, 2 quarters. But we're all small, and we try to help each other, but we need the bigger ones with the money to help these guys too.
Yeah, and part of the sort of, I guess, like kind of like ethos or thread with Veg Networking Canada is all of the folks that we speak with are already, to your point, ingrained or embedded in their offerings, giving back,
Yeah,
helping the planet,
it's
helping people,
exactly.
right? Yeah, yeah. So giving
Because
back,
money wise, for startups and companies like us, we can give money. We just try to be vocal about their mission and be like an ally. You know what I mean? But giving away or giving stuff is stuff for us too.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so earlier on, we talked about it a little bit earlier. You mentioned Cowspiracy. So that
Yeah,
would fall, of course, under the documentary bucket. But there's also apps, books,
yeah,
podcasts, and a variety of other different kinds of resources. The
yeah.
purpose of this question for those listening is maybe they're in food service, maybe they're looking for, basically, we're just trying to look for any resources that have helped you in business and life, whether that has to do with veganism or not, that have helped you that people might not have heard of. And so if you could give us any resources that have worked for you, maybe it'll work for somebody else.
That's a question. I've looked far and wide, and I actually asked my girlfriend, like, is there any podcasts or apps or whatever that I've told you about that I've listened, or like this, and that's very weird, because most of the podcasts or whatever I don't listen to podcasts that much. I'm how can I say it? I'm very low tech. I try to go outside, and for me, I don't have the time. First of all, to put a lot of my head into whatever podcast, even though it's not long. Or uh, and to be really honest, I don't listen to podcasts or read books that much about any type of veganism or whatnot. It's just a question of so many inspiration comes from day to day. My brain makes like connection to stuff that just pops off when I walk or first any reason. It's very hard for me to tell you some resources because to be honest, I don't have that much resources. It just comes like this, you know. We started Beagle Bagel when I was on the trip in New York City. You know why? I don't know because it happened there. I have no idea why. You know, so and because we had our vegan honey, I said bagel, New York bagel, or another type of bagel. But Montreal, we ate some New York bagel. I'm like, we have honey. We could make vegan bagels in Montreal. Yes, let's do it.
No,
So
that makes total sense.
yeah,
And so,
so
we've had other people say the same thing, when it comes to resources, yeah, there's like maybe like you said, Cowspiracy, or maybe that book I read 10 years ago that stuck with me kind of thing. But it isn't uncommon for us to talk to entrepreneurs and business owners where they
is it?
don't
Is it? I'm curious.
yeah,
That's funny. I didn't know that.
yeah, there have been guests where it's like, I'm so involved in what I'm doing that I don't
Explain.
have that capacity or the bandwidth to throw myself into other things. And I kind of learn as I go, and I build and learn as I build the business. So it's not uncommon. We've had both people who don't. Yeah, go for it.
One of the things I think, because when you were talking about other entrepreneurs, I think this just talking, just have some discussions with other entrepreneurs. You see what they did wrong, what we do, what we need, and I think having kind of a circle like chats here and there with different entrepreneurs, for me, it's better. I just don't listen to podcasts or watch whatever. And these movies and books I read a long time ago. And this is what made me change. It's not something that continuously I follow whatever new, documentary about veganism because I kind of yeah dabble into this and that here and there, but I don't search for it that much.
Yeah. So okay. So that's cool though. So you mentioned Cowspiracy, and then say it again. John Joseph's book.
You want me to say it again? That's not cool saying that word. Meat is for pussies.
Okay. So there you go. So there's a couple of resources. You said the word in that answer to your question, which is the basis of our next question: inspiration.
Yeah.
We've had people talk about nature before as their source of inspiration. We've had people talk about they themselves, without being
Mm.
gloating or anything. They
No, no,
themselves are their own
absolutely.
source of inspiration. And then we've had your typical certain individual, organization, what have you.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, right. It could be very black or white, or it could be philosophical based on it. But the question for you is like, when it comes to inspiration, what does that even mean
Oh, man,
to Freddie?
there's a lot of people because I got some younger entrepreneurs who kind of asking me question, and a lot of time I say go straight to the point. There's not like I want to pick your brain. I'm like, what do you want? Like you got 5 minutes. Okay, tell me. And sometimes I get some feel of it, and I feel that they're not made to be entrepreneurs. You have to have a total grit, like super gritty and a hustler. I mean, a lot of the times the MBAs and whatnot, I went to university in marketing, but it's just that I'm a hustler. You need that hustling and gritty mentality to be an entrepreneur. Unless you're a trust fund baby or whatnot, and you get cash, loads of cash. This is different. But you're not gonna enjoy the ride as much as you're not gonna feel like I don't know, maybe you I don't know, I haven't been through it, but I prefer my way of doing stuff. And my mom is weird doing that, but my mom is the grittiest, most like true person in the world, and she inspired me still to this day, almost 80 years old. And she's super like she reads a lot and she's connected to what's going on in the world all the time, and she loves our business. She asks questions, and my mom is like keeps me kind of grounded at the same time. But it's not like Mark Cuban or whatever. I don't care for these guys. I mean, it's just I'm a really like I want to the thing that people like about me, I think, always came back is like I tell it like it is. Like I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and sometimes it's gonna be very ugly. But and I like people to be the same way with me. But sometimes some people like to be a little bit more like to the I don't know that's the way to do it. And this is definitely my metal, punk rock, hardcore background. I'm 100%. I'm actually sporting the Youth of Today sweater right now. This is one of the bands that inspired me. And you see the X on the end, that's the straight edge stuff. I'm not straight edge anymore. I don't drink that much, but music for me is it's always been like a in my life to like the grassroots of being true to yourself.
Yeah, it's very clear from the conversation so far, right from the beginning, that music is a big inspiration, source of inspiration for you, along with, the outdoors, being an avid cycler, fluid motion, all that stuff. But yeah,
Snowboarding,
also,
hiking, yeah.
very, very clear. Hustle, grit, and transparency. It sounds like transparency is very inspiring for you and you see it in others and you exercise it yourself. So you've done this a few times, which is super great. To me, it feels like the conversation is just flowing. It's almost like you're starting to answer the next question before it comes.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
this is the final question for you, and it is centered around wisdom, tips, lessons, or advice. Some people don't like framing it like they're giving advice.
Mhm.
A lot of people are more comfortable saying, "Hey, this is some wisdom, lessons, or tips that I've learned, and I'll share it with you, and it might help you." You
Yeah.
kind of started to talk about that, like, don't beat around the bush. Tell me what you're after. Tell me within 5 minutes. So that's very clear, kind of wisdom, tips, lessons, advice. Feel free to dive more into that or anything else that you've experienced that you would like to share with people, because it's the final question we have for you.
Yep. Um, just start it. Just start it. Stop asking questions. Just do it. Like Nike, not in love particularly with the brand, but just do it. Just you have an idea, test it, try it, pivot fast. If you see something doesn't work, pivot fast, and do it. I love people who are doers. The talking is good, but I mean you have to do it. When people say I got to get in shape right now. What's stopping you? Now. And it's the same thing with the business. I have this idea. I've been thinking about 2 years. Why don't you do it? Money or this or that or family, do it. And any age, any idea, like go for it. And it just trying it and it's going to build your confidence, or at least like you you're going to tell people, "Look, I've tried it. It didn't work. So what?" You know, Nowadays, there's no problem about failing. Whatever, you can start back. It's never been easy to stop and do something else. So I think that's one of the things you have to go for it. You know.
Yeah. Okay, so that being said, is there anything in this conversation that we've had so far, Freddie, that you want to go back to, or maybe there's something, or maybe a few things that maybe we missed talking about you, your business, announcements, what's going on in the future, anything like that? Just kind of open-ended. The floor is yours. If there's anything else that you want to touch on.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing there's a recurring conversation I have with veganism and whatnot, because most of my friends are not vegan. My family's not. So there's still a lot of work to do to veganize a little bit. So please don't be preachy that we hate vegans or like that. I hate vegans or like that. I know you're pissed off. I am pissed off, but I mean, it's the worst way to inspire people. I like it fun. I like collaboration. I like to keep it, it's a very, very sad, situation for animals and whatever is in that ecosystem. But I mean, preachiness never worked. So I like to keep it fun, and the sub text of everything is like very important message. That's my way to do it. I think it works kind of well. And yeah, don't be that preachy vegan. Just cook food. Make people try. Say try it out. What do you think? And just have a conversation. Not I like all the fact that there's some activism. That's not my bag. I've never done that. I'm never going to do it, and it's good though because you need that. But if you have a product like me and you want to touch the masses, it's very hard to be really in your face about like very graphic stuff. So for me, I think be very open minded about how you talk about this subject to other people and the feedback you get, and try to get that little window of opportunity where there's something that they're open.
Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us, Freddie. And for everybody listening, this is the last episode of Veg Networking Canada for 2023. We'll see you in 2024. But this has been, another episode here with the CEO of Bumble Boom and Beagle Bagel, Frédéric Boucher. We thank you so much for your time today, and everybody who's listening right now. Thank you for being with us, whether you're live or you're listening a little bit later on in your own time. And we wish you the happiest of holidays with you and your family. It's not an easy time for everybody. So feel free to come and join the community and connect with us. That's what Veg Networking Canada is all about. A community where vegan plant-based companies connect and collaborate. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you in the new year. Take care. Bye for now.